Just keep stirring that, keep stirring that, keep stirring that. Yum, yum. You're making breakfast. And it is going to be a hot day today, but it's going to be a fun day today because it's going to kick off this moonshining adventure of ours. One of the things that I get asked a lot is about and doing moonshine, and I basically stopped doing that about a year or so. It got too tiring and everything, and I'm still. A lot of people are very interested in the distilling arts. So I thought today just to put one up, just to have one up. I don't really think I'll be doing another one. I'd like to be able to sell the still and make the room and finish up the granny unit there. But for today, you're going to be on a moonshining adventure with me. Now, this adventure is going to actually stretch over about 10 days, this video. Reason being, when we make some whiskey, it's a very stepped process. We have to gather the materials together, which we have. We have to prepare the ferment, which we will do. We have to let the mash or distiller's beer ferment for maybe 10 days or so, 2 weeks. And then we have to distill the product, and then the product has to be barreled. We're not barreling anything anymore, and we just end up giving the stuff away. But at least you'll understand the process as it's evolved here. And well, it's fun and it's interesting, but it's a lot of work, as you'll see, as we embark upon this adventure. So stick with me. It's going to be one continuous video. Sit back and enjoy. All right, so it's time to really talk about the materials here. And of course, we have an old fermenting barrel there. Hasn't been used in a long time, so that's got to be cleaned up a bit today. But in addition, who's that girl? Who's that girl? In addition, we also have, this has been sitting around a long time too. This is like hard as a rock. We got 50 pounds of sugar here, and we've got our grain over here. And this is enough just to finish it up and finish it up forever and get rid of that. I don't plan on buying another one there. So those are the basic ingredients. We also have yeast inside. So the first thing we need to do, guys, is I've got to drag this barrel back and clean this out. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to have to roll it out there. I don't know what the hell that is. Roll it out there into the back and clean it up. It's the bulwark of distilling. some people, if you read some of the distilling websites, they're all very anal retentive about cleanliness and make sure everything is sterilized before you give it. Come on, guys, you think hillbillies are out there? You know, when I was growing up, you think my grandma was sterilizing it? Come on, let's get real, okay? Process is done. It's now time to move on to step 2, which is cooking the grains. We've already got our basic ingredients. As I mentioned, this will be the last of the feed. When this goes, this is it. I will strip everything out of here and be done with this. But I had a lot of people request this, and might as well not waste up and just get it done and then give away the final product here. But we've got the sweet feed, which is corn, oats, barley, and molasses. They call it sweet feed obviously because of that little bit of molasses, and it really makes a difference in the ferment. So the barrel's all clean, as I said. That's the ugly part of the process. Now we're going to get inside. It's going to be really hot today. It's going to be 100, 105 this morning here, 10 o'clock. We want to be able to get this done quick. So let's go inside, get our mash pot here, our cooking pot. Let's go inside and cook these grains up. Now, why don't we put these grains in just the way they are, just pour them in? Well, they wouldn't release any flavor. What we need to do is put these grains, get some water boiling, then add these grains into the, well, we're going to put the grains in first, add some water, slowly bring it up to a boil. And what that's going to do is allow those grains to swell up and burst. And when they burst, they release all that flavor. And you have something that looks like the consistency of oatmeal, which is what we want to put in the ferment pot. We'll then add our sugar on top, top it off with the water we need, and then we'll add what's called the yeast bomb, or the prepared yeast on top of that. We'll aerate it for 3 or 4 hours, then we'll close it up and see you guys in a week or 2. So let's get inside and let's cook up some grains. All right, our grain pot is in place. We need to get 2 of these filled up here. This is about 5 pounds each. We're going to pop the grain in. There's number 1. And here comes number 2. And that's basically the end of that. So we find anywhere from 7 to 10 pounds of grain gives us great flavor. And when this swells up with the water and it bursts and releases all that goodness, all that's going to go in with the sugar and the yeast and water and make a really, really nice whiskey ferment. I'll bring you in to take a closer look at the grain we're using. This is a close-up of the grain that we are using. You can see bits of corn in here, barley. You've got oats scattered throughout, and you've got little chunks of molasses. There's some corn there. I'm trying to find. This is kind of the bottom of the bag, so it's hard to find stuff that hasn't really been pulverized in here. But believe me, there's molasses, there's a mashed piece of corn there, all kinds of goodies. You can actually, this stuff makes a hell of a breakfast cereal. Even though it's animal feed, it tastes really good. I know y'all gonna think that's crazy, but there it is. That's the good stuff. This looks like another crushed piece of corn here, cracked corn. So. All right, we're gonna add water up to about this mark over here on the side, and then we're gonna start heating her up. This is a part of the process where a lot of people make a big mistake because they throw those grains into the pot and they bring it up to a boil, but they forget to stir the bottom. Remember, the grains are heavier than the H2O. They're going to want to sit on the bottom there. And when they do that, they're directly exposed to the heat coming from underneath, and they will scorch. And let me tell you, brother, when grains scorch, and if you add them to a ferment, you're just gonna taste burn on there, and that's the last thing you want to do after investing all of this time into getting these grains properly prepared. You basically wreck your whole 25-gallon ferment. Okay, so just keep stirring that, keep stirring that, keep stirring that. Yum, yum. You're making breakfast. Now you want to stir these. I'm going to go outside, guys, and let Missy Jen at the helm here to just keep these from sticking. And we're going to go outside and sugar up our add our sugar in. Okay, Missy Jen, ready to take over? Yeah. Got Missy Jen inside. She's working the grains there, and guys, this is the first part of the whole process here. At least for me, this is 50 pounds of sugar, and I got to get this inside of here. I got me funnel, but it's still a lot for me to heft around here. So I'm so glad to be done with goofing around with 50-pound bags of sugar. All right, we got that open, so here we go. The other problem too, this stuff is all like chunky here, so I got to sit it down once in a while. Got to pulverize and beat this stuff down. You know what, that sucks, because we don't really do this anymore. This is just a bag I found laying around. So all right, so got to get my masher out. Sugared my boob there. So what I found is if you just take scissors and work it across there, helps bust up the bigger pieces. And if you want to try to avoid getting sugar everywhere, including on your titties, because all you'll do is attract a lot of ants around. You sure don't want that. You don't want that part. Sugar on top I'm going to have to clean up. Not my neatest job, but like I say, I've got this heavy, all clumped together, this sugar. We'll get her done. We'll get her done. There we go. Right down there. Excess on top here. Put that down there. Neatness counts, right? Ooh, I'm so sugary. I'm so sweet now. I got the sweetest tits in the world. Next bit. Take it and mash the bag, and that'll make it last it a bit real easy. And I'm going to spray this down real good to really spread this sugar stuff. We're going to have a zillion ants here. See after we're all cleaned up here. Alright guys, that is the last of it. Got one big ass chunk here. Cut that bad boy up. into the pot she goes. So I'm going to get the hose out here and spray her down. Maybe spray myself down too. Obviously, guys, I've got 50 pounds of sugar right underneath of this fill spout. So I've got to work to break that up. I did add about 5 gallons of the water at the bottom to help break it up. Fun, guys. Missy Jen is starting to get a little bit thicker. Yep. Feels like it's maybe up to 160 degrees. So about 172 degrees is when the grain starts splitting and all those starches are released. So we got a little bit more. I pulled a little bit out of the pot to make the yeast bomb, which I'll explain in a little bit. It's what we're going to be throwing in at the very end. So gave Missy Jen a break on stirring here. She's done a good job. There's nothing stuck to the nothing stuck here at all. Okay. Yeah, looking like they're starting to swell up, huh? That's what we want. We want that color and everything. Just don't drop the GoPro into the joy juice. Alright, thank you. Missy Jen has been on this, and we've reached to the point where we're really starting to thicken up a bit here. So I think just a couple more minutes and we will be pretty much ready to go. Missy Jen, you hungry?
I'm hungry, yeah.
Hungry. Stuff makes good. You put a little sugar on top of this, brown sugar. Woo! It won't be long now. I turned the heat down really low here. At this point I want to really be careful. I don't want to do any scorching. The chance is less since the grains have already lightened up with bursting. You can see how much thicker it is. Alright, in a couple more minutes we're going to throw this into the mash pot, being very careful. This is the real danger part of the operation to me, is handling these grains. I mean, if these splatter or get on you, it's like burn city. I know I'm wearing a bikini, but I have a special way of doing it. I'm just giving you guys a general caution. This is not as easy as it looks. They've been brought outside very carefully. Let's be very careful here. No splatters. Transferring the grains to the pot here. See how much that thickened up. All that grain goodness. gonna finish filling her up and get cleaned up. Why am I wearing a bikini? Because it's about 105 degrees out right now. Good fermenting weather. That doesn't kick out on us. That was really good, guys. No runs, no drips, no errors, as Johnny mentioned. Okay. Real good. I'm gonna go ahead and add some more. Bring it up to our 25-gallon mark, and we're gonna make a yeast bomb. Preparing your yeast for inclusion into your ferment, and you want to make sure that your ferment has cooled down plenty or it'll kill the yeast above about 115 degrees. So what I have is some well water here. I have a little bit of the mash in here, and I have about 2 tablespoons of sugar. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 cup of Red Star yeast, which is our favorite. And I'm going to let this sit a while, and this is actually going to puff up real good and activate the yeast. You don't want to just throw the yeast in on top of that. You want to activate it and get it in a liquid mass and then add it in. Okay, I'm going to finish topping up the water in the fermenting barrel, and then we'll be ready to add our yeast bomb to it. Okay, real easy. We'll let that get good and activated. All that yeast is wet down real good, so it doesn't matter if it clumps a little, it'll unclump in the pot, but what we want to do is just get it all wet there. And let that start to activate. Okay guys, now you can understand why they call that a yeast bomb. And look at how good that looks. Is that not a sight of beauty or what? Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add this to the pot. That yeast is beautifully activated. It's so much more effective than just throwing dry yeast on top of your ferment. Trust me, it works out a hell of a lot better. I'm going to clean up some gear, and then we're going to wrap up the fermenting part of this video. Don't go anywhere. I also added a aquarium pump here with an air stone at the bottom. You can see it bubbling away, and this is something that's very critical and very underappreciated by home distillers, and I'll have a little bit to say about the criticalness of this and why so many people fail when they do their home distillation. Okay, everybody, the final part of the process, and maybe the most important part, and that's a little discussion of what comes after you've got everything in the pot. I'm assuming you've made your mash properly, you bought your grains properly, you got your sugars added, everything's dissolved, and everything is stirred and it's in the pot. The real mistake that people make now is they rush to put those airlocks on their 5-gallon mash buckets. They don't give the mash enough time to ferment or enough time to breathe. This is why most people that distill beer at home, make whiskey at home, fail. Because they don't understand the importance of what happens the first 4 to 6 hours that you produce your mash. Those yeast colonies in the early part of their life in that mash, sure, they're happy about the sugars, they're happy about the grains to munch on, but there's not a lot of them, and they're not a very healthy colony given the size of the pot. So it's super important that air be introduced, especially in the first 4 to 6 to 12 hours of the fermenting process, because that will help the yeast colony explode inside and get established. If you were to put this under airlock too quickly, your yeast would have an extremely difficult time expanding and multiplying, because they would quickly run out of the air, the atmospheric air that's trapped within the barrel. And well, whatever yeast were alive at that point would go ahead and they would start doing the ferment, but you would have an incomplete ferment. What you need is 4 to 12 hours, and I like to go about 6 hours, where this pot just bubbles and bubbles with an aerator, the fish pump with a air stone on the end of it, introducing a massive amount of oxygen into that ferment. And after about 6 hours or so, I'll remove that. Then I'll put it under, I'll close it up and keep the air out. I won't be crazy about it. I won't worry about a little bit of air. Most of the air will be out of there. And that yeast colony by that time will be so huge, they'll go to town on those grains and on that sugar and do a much better job. Aerate, aerate, aerate. The single most important point of producing whiskey is the most misunderstood and the most misapplied. I don't care if you're making a beer or a whiskey, you need that early air. Okay, that's going to wrap it up, and well, next time you see the next section, we'll be underway loading the still. Alright guys, it's been a day since we, well, 2 days actually, since we made our mash, and one of the critical things that you're going to have to do when you make a ferment is you're going to have to stir your mash. Just like I like to be shaken up once in a while, these yeast and these grains and these sugars in here, they like to be shaken up too. So I like to get my get my top off here. And this is under a little bit of pressure now, not too much. But, it's a little warm because of the process of the yeast multiplying in here. I want to do a little sniff. Oh, you can just hear that crackling away like a snap, crackle, pop. So I want to take my pole and I want to give it a really good stir. You know what this does? This stirs up all the sugars, all the grains on the bottom, and introduces the yeast to them in a new location. We want to have a little bit of a taste. Still sweet, but a little tinge of sourness to it. And when that's totally sour, we'll know we've consumed all that sugar and turned it into potential ethanol. Okay, are you with me so far? Are you enjoying the shake, rattle, and roll? Oh yeah, it's fun to make moonshine. All right, everybody, 2 weeks have now gone by, and it's time to check our ferment to see if it's ready to go into our still. And well, there's a couple ways you can do this, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. You can do it sort of the scientific way, or you can do it what I call the moonshiner's way, where you do it by taste. Remember chemistry class, the graduated cylinders that you used in when you were doing chemistry? Well, they're back, and this is going to be an important tube, an important cylinder. We're going to get some of the liquid, and this is a hydrometer here. And what this actually does is measure the specific gravity or density of our ferment. And I'll tell you why that's important right now. We're going to draw off some of the ferment here, some of the distiller's beer, and we're going to put it into our graduated cylinder. It's one way that you can check the specific gravity that I want to talk about now. If you remember from chemistry class, the denser a liquid is, or the more dissolved solids that are in there, the higher the specific gravity is. And all this hydrometer does is it floats in the fluid and it measures the density. And it's very important for our purposes, the specific gravity, because when you start to do a ferment, your density is very high. Well, why wouldn't it be? You have 50 pounds of sugar in there, and as that sugar and as those grain starches start to get eaten by the yeast, carbon dioxide is released, and then the ethanol is converted as a waste product of the yeast, and ethanol is lighter than water. And what actually happens is your specific gravity starts to go down and it becomes a lighter liquid. The hydrometer was riding high in the beginning, but as the ferment goes on, it starts to sink because the liquid is less dense. Now when you get to a point where you're at the 1.00 level there, it really is a level that confirms that all of your sugars and starches have been converted into potential alcohol. And that's the dream of any fermenter, to reach that point. You can, and I have reached 99% before, believe it or not. Don't ask me how it's done, but beyond a perfect fermentation. So this is one way to measure our ferment. So I'm going to draw off some of the liquid now and fill up the tube here. And I'm going to tell you the second way that the real moonshiners do it when they check to see if first thing I want to do is give the ferment one last really good stir here. Around the moonshine, around the moonshine roundups, right? Oh, that's good. So what I want to do now is I want to take my draw tube here and draw off some of this here. Now that it's stirred really well. Science isn't always fun, guys. I think what I'll do is pinch this off here. See, I don't ever do this way. I just go by the second way. And there we go. Okay, so if we have I'll bring you over, guys, and as I explained, if we have a perfect fermentation here, it will be at the 0 mark. So let's bring you over and take a look. Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? And there you can see right there we've got basically a perfect ferment as our hydrometer floats at the 0 level, signifying that the density brings it right in line with the highest amount of potential ethanol to be drawn off. What does that mean? It means that ferment was 100% successful. All the sugars that were in there and all the grain starches that were in the ferment barrel have now been converted to potential ethanol. And the next step is going to be to draw that ethanol off. The first thing I want to do is talk about the way that moonshiners check whether a ferment is done. All right, everybody. Those of you who remember the late, great Popcorn Sutton will know that Popcorn Sutton wouldn't know what a graduated cylinder was. He would poo-poo chemistry class. To Popcorn Sutton, the way you tell a ferment is done is you draw a little bit of it off and you taste it. Now, you can imagine when you start with 25 gallons of fluid that's infused with 50 pounds of sugar, boy, that is some kind of sweet mixture. And now it gets to the point where it's actually become sour. It's soured off now. So when you see Popcorn Sutton and you watch his video series, this is the last damn liquor run I'm ever going to make, he tastes that ferment, he tastes that distiller's beer, and he says, "Whoo, that's soured off good, that's ready to go." When he does that, he knows that all the sugar is now gone, and it's going to make a good batch of moonshine, just like this is. So I'm going to pour that back in now, and the next step in the process, I'm going to get Missy Jen out here and get her involved. We're going to set up the hose, and we're going to transfer our ferment to the still pot to get that done. Don't you dare go anywhere. You can see Missy Jen in there. Give a wave there, Jen. She's at the still, and we've got the pump set up. So let's pump away here. We've got Big Bertha all loaded up here and ready to go. So, well, be with us when we do a one for old time's sake, guys. So, stay tuned, and we'll see you on D-Day. What does D-Day stand for? Distilling Day. We'll see you then, guys. Get an early start. With who? Good morning, guys. Are you ready to make some moonshine today? Welcome aboard. And yep, it is distilling day after all that work of doing a perfect ferment and getting everything all checked and all loaded into the still. Here we go, guys. It is distilling day. All right, let's start out by talking a little bit about the setup we have. We have the standard column still here, And started the rig up about an hour ago, and we're getting up to about 140 degrees. You can see we're starting to get a little bit of vapor up here. And because we have a perfect ferment here, I'm expecting that we'll be drawing about 3 gallons of decent product today and a half a gallon of stuff that'll need to be repitched in the future or used like our 4 shots for running lawnmowers or lighting fires here. So what we've done is loaded up that 25 gallons of ferment in there and put the heat to it now. We have our nice 25 gallon with the 220 power going into it. And right now we're closing in on 100, we're about 140 degrees here, and the fun's really going to begin about 178 to 180 degrees. If you remember from chemistry class, ethanol, alcohol, and some of the other lower alcohols, they have a lower boiling point than water. And at about 172 degrees, we start to take off the acetones, the methanols, the things that you don't want. And we'll capture what's called those 4 shots, about half a jar here. And we won't do anything with them. We'll use that for starting fires in our fire pit and other things. It's not good. It's not anything you ever want to drink. It's not anything you ever want to repitch in again to get cleaned up. It's a throwaway product. Then what we'll do is we'll capture about half a quart of what's called heads. And that's the stuff that's not harmful, but it's the stuff that doesn't taste real good at the beginning of the run. And after we've cleaned that a little bit and we've got to a point where it's running with good flavor, we'll go ahead and do what's called the hearts of the run. We'll get our good hearts, hopefully our 3 gallons, because we had a great ferment. And then when the hearts are done, we'll capture what's called the tails. And that's the smelly stuff at the end once all the ethanol has been stripped out. You'll know it because it starts to smell like dirty old socks with, well, shit wrapped inside. It really stinks bad. So long before we get to that really stinky point, we want to make sure we cut our hearts off and just capture that tails, because the next time we do a run, and I don't think there will be a next time, but if we're going to do a run in the future sometime just for shits and giggles, you can actually repitch that again and put that into the stills. So yeah, it's going to be a fun day today. So we're just letting that temperature get up here. We have a fan mounted in the back that'll keep things cool. This gets very hot, this controller, as the day goes on. As we start to come up to temperature, we'll turn on the H2O, the water here. This is a well feed, and this is a city water feed. We might get about 80% through, and the water in the well becomes a little too warm after recirculating to really condense the vapors up here, which is what we want going through here. And I'll explain a little bit about how this works. Then we may have to cut over to cool city water, but the well water saves us a lot of money by being economical, because of course H2O is very expensive here in California. So let's talk about how this works. As it heats up, the ethanol, being lighter, starts to all rise and congregate at the top here. And we won't draw anything off immediately. What we'll do what's refluxing. We'll introduce cold water into the jacket here, and this is a jacketed column. There's water, there's a water jacket, there's a column, there's a tube within here all the way around that carries cold water. And when that ethanol, those alcohol vapors start to rise, they hit that cold on the side created by the cold well water, and it makes the vapors drop back down again into the pot. And we want that cycle, what's called refluxing, and to continue for about a half hour, because what that does is it drives all the alcohol up to a point where it's a lot easier to capture up at the top. Then we'll slowly introduce, cut the water here, and we'll let the vapors go over the top, where the cold water here, the secondary condenser here has cold water, and the ethanol vapors hit that, they condense, they come down here to the parrot, and they come out the parrot and get captured over here. So it's a pretty ingenious process, and it results in alcohol that's about 180 proof or 90% pure alcohol. Now, another question that I get asked a lot is, if you put in that sort of brownish liquid, that tan colored liquid into the still, why do you get clear product? Well, it's such a pure column that this is actually steam distillation here. The ethanol is being steamed into its purest form and captured, and then it comes out crystal clear here. Remember, no matter what anybody's distilling, no matter any distiller still around the world, if they're distilling properly, their liquid is going to be crystal clear. At the end of it, they might drop a lemon in or something and infuse it with some flavors or something else, or some coloring, like a Bombay Sapphire gin, something like that. Add the blue into it, but that's not a natural color of the distilling process, okay? Everything always comes out clear. And bourbon gets its color because it's aged in American oak, white oak barrels that have been charred on the inside, okay? That's what defines American bourbon. 75% made with corn, and then aged in charred American white oak barrels. So, be a little lesson today too, okay? So, we'll just let the temperature keep rising here, and fun will begin in a little while. We'll start to take off our pour shot. And here's Missy Jen on board. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning.
All right, Missy Jen. She's done a lot of cleanup and reorganization of this room. It's good. I think today I might put Bobby's beer, transfer this beer inside. I probably have to defrost this, Jen. This isn't working real good, so I'm gonna have to transfer all this shit inside and defrost this upper. That's my Brenda's tea. So I don't know, I gotta take all that shit in the house, and then we gotta defrost that today. So all right, well, we're getting up to point interesting here. We're up to about 170, so the action is going to begin. You'll start to see these sight glasses, they call them, start to bubble. You're already seeing some vapors. And remember, we have the water on pretty full here. And what that does is any vapors that are coming up, they're hitting the cold jacket here and dropping back down. They're not making it over to the secondary condenser. This is ice cold. This is warm up here, pretty cool up here. It's about 70 degrees, but this column will start to get hot. So yeah, we're getting up to action point. Temperature is really a critical thing when it comes to distilling, and you can tell a lot about the point where if you've got a good ferment or a bad ferment. And you already knew that we had a good ferment because every bit of sugar was gone. The specific gravity was 0 in there, which signified a great ferment. But you can also tell by temperature, and as we're climbing here and getting closer, we're about 177 degrees right now, and the sooner that we start taking off above 180 degrees, the better. If we could take off at 182 degrees and we stop at about 202 degrees, we will have taken off 20 points of temperature, which really equates to, well, probably at least 10 quarts of really good quality stuff. And we may get some more too. So I'm watching very closely for, you can see we're starting to get the condensation here. Up on the sight glasses, so I'm watching really closely as we close in on 181 degrees. The sooner we start bubbling in these sight glasses, the better. So let's keep an eye on them. Okay, this is a really, really good sign. It's 180 degrees, and look, we're already getting bubbling in our sight glass. So guys, it's going to be a epic run today. That means we've got a lot of ethanol up here, and it's going to want to drop and eventually go over the side here and be captured. So we're refluxing now. We're putting maximum water on the jacket to keep that knocked down, and you'll see all these sight glasses filled. Okay? They'll all be filled with the bubbling. It's quite a sight. So this is really a good sign for taking off products. I'm going to go ahead and back off the temperature here a little bit. The heat that we're putting to it, and I'm going to start to fan. You want to see a beautiful sight to a distiller? Right there, baby. 181 degrees, and all those windows are flying here. Even this last one's getting into the game. Really good. So we're refluxing away and letting all that alcohol drop right down into the pot, and it's all starting to congregate at the top up here. You'll see our proof and trail, what would you call this, gauge. I call it a bubble. You'll see this thing start to rise as we're pulling off ethanol. And it'll settle probably at 180 proof, something like that. You'll see it float. Right now it's going to be very, very high, taking off very high alcohol. So we're stripping off our first part, the stuff we can't use. And this is really good. This is almost 190, 187, something like that, 188, so very, very high. So we're filling up the parrot here, and we'll start capturing off the side. So looking good. I've introduced the water to the jacket, so it's actually starting to condense. And the next thing we want to do is try to balance it. And by balance it, I mean reach a point where it's almost on automatic pilot. We have enough water going to the primary jacket and the secondary condensing jacket to allow just the right amount of takeoff, not too fast, not too slow. If you take it off too fast, it's hot. It's not good, it's harsh. So, we want to hit the right medium for taking off. So we're starting to get our drip flow down here, which is good. And we want to adjust it to a stream like a bit of lead in a pencil, about that thick. So go ahead and pop a little more water. What we're doing now is trying to achieve that balance point. Running really good here. Interesting, huh? So already just taking off these low alcohols, we're at about 186 proof, or 93% pure. Let's get a little more water here. Very slowly adjusting, making the adjustments. This is what the distilling, this is the art of distilling here. Refluxing, getting good balance. This is where the distiller's art comes in, making the cuts between the foreshots and the heads, and then the heads and the hearts that we want to take off, and then ending it before the tails can ruin it. So this is where experience and distilling art really comes in. This is why master distillers are paid so much money. They're really in charge of everything. The fermenting, the loading of the still, the running of the still. They're responsible for the whole operation. Once again, we've got a really excellent temperature. My dream's always 182 degree takeoff point, and that's exactly what we have. So we're going to take off at least 20 points here. And we'll be good all the way to about 202. a really good flow right there. All of the 4 shots have now been collected in here, and again, we'll save them. We'll have a little bit of hillbilly fun this afternoon. We'll have a little fun with fire. Okay, out back, and we're starting to collect the heads here now. And this is where the distiller art comes in, because I'm going to be getting my spoon here and judging when it's clean enough to start collecting the hearts. So that's kind of a judgment call. Take a little taste right now. Still a little harsh. I can taste a little. I don't want to say it's like a gasoline-y kind of smell, but I want to make sure it gets down to the point where it's a taste of real good grain in there, good flavor, and none of that harsh, low alcohols on there. So, all right, we got a ways to go here, so there's no sense rushing it. Got a really good run going. And we're running about, 187 proof on the proof and trail hydrometer there. All right. A little bit on the spoon there. I made the first cut. It's flavorful. We're now starting to begin to collect the hearts here. So we're well underway now in the biggest bulk of the collection process. And this is going to take about 6 hours or so to get all of this off. So pull up a seat and relax. One of my favorite parts of the process. Oh, the ongoing sampling. That tastes so good with that beautiful grain flavors. Woo! Good stuff. All right, well underway on jar number 2 here. Not much to do except chill out and watch some Olympics today. We're on jar capture number 3 here, working up to 3/4 of a gallon. Getting ready for the prelims of the women's 400-meter, baby. Once in a while, when you're distilling, you'll lose your windows here. It's called losing a window. And what you want to do is just start refluxing again. Introduce a little more cold water into the jacket. It causes the ethanol to fall back in the pot and reconcentrates everything. You start to get your windows back, and then you start taking off again. Not the most difficult process in the world, but you've got to be observant, and you've got to make sure that you know how to make the adjustments along the way. Again, this is where the art of distilling comes in, when these guys sit here and run these 500-gallon stills, and they're going to be taking off 50 gallons of product. Yeah, it's a long day, and it's something that's got to be done the right way. So we got our windows back here. And that's what I like to see. You're about to see Missy Jen pull off a quart, and which brings us up to the 1 gallon mark here. Go for it. There we go. Do the switch out there. Awesome sauce. We'll have a little bit of a taste in that product. Oh, that's like silk, guys. That is smooth as silk. What do we got? 194. What do we got? 186 proof, or 93% pure. So, how'd that grab you? Woo! Boy, look who made a special guest appearance today. The Bobby. Huh? Been a while, Bobby, since we did a run, huh?
I know.
Long time. It's called One for Old Time's Sake here, huh? Going good. We're up to, what do we got, Jen? About a gallon, and we're working on a gallon and a half. We're over halfway done the run almost now. How's our temperature? Yeah, we're still about 190, so we're doing great. We have about 12 more points to pull off here, which is equal to about six more quarts, so it's about perfect. All right, excellent day. Yeah. I think Bobby, like old times, watching all the windows go here. You know, this is a great run when you see that much stuff coming off. And put the power on at 7 a.m. this morning, and she's rolling good. Let's do another little quality check here. Man, that is smooth as silk, Bobby. Smooth as silk. So, did a little bit of refluxing. Still trying to adjust the balance a little bit to kick the flow up. There we go. All windows are firing away here, guys. And we're still running, well, we're running our highest proof now at 188 proof or 94% pure. Woo! We just hit the 2-gallon mark today, so doing good. We're more than halfway done the run here. What a thing of beauty. Got 2 gallons so far. 1, 2, right there. Looking real good. That's it. Got a good flow going. Still got plenty of windows going over here. Looking really good, guys. Classically good run with no problems at all. At temperature, we were about 192 degrees, so we got 10 points to go. We're right where we want to be, so that equal about maybe 5 if we're lucky, 5 more of the quarts. I think that's a record-breaking proof for us, 188. Whew. You see the proof. It's our 6th hour we just passed, and we're up to, we're working on our, ready to change out and put our last jar for 3 gallons there. We're still running 3 windows strong here, and we're still running at 186, 93% pure. We're still going strong. About 198 degrees, so we got about 4 points to go. So it's going to come in just about perfect, Missy Jen. 2 more jars should about do it. So really good yield. We get 3 gallons. We're up to 12.5% yield on that, which is pretty nice. So I always tell you guys, it's not the yeast, it's the way that you do your ferments that really matters in getting your yield. So, all right. Hang in there, we're in the home stretch. It's going to get very interesting now because our temperature's coming into play, and we have to be very careful we don't ruin anything by pulling off stinky tails off of this. And we're also running out of ethanol. We've kind of closed out some of our windows here. We're really running on about 2 1/3, which signifies we're getting close to running down, although our percent, we're still running at about 184, 92% pure. It's going to go fast when it goes bad, so we want to keep a close eye on it. After this jar, we're going to have to take frequent tastes here. Still okay, still good. So we're still in the hearts here, but we're on yellow alert. Yellow alert. All right, our water's also getting warm in the well, so we may have to cut over to city water to finish her off here, because we're losing our ability. If we don't have cold water, then we're losing our ability to condense here. So we're just keeping a close eye on it.
Traditional soup like this.
Shit, I thought Martha Stewart was dead. Who knew? She's still got a cooking show on there, making noodles today.
Some Vietnamese cinnamon, a lot thicker than regular cinnamon.
All right, guys, 3 gallons. There it is. Change this out. That's a real watermark. That's 12.5% yield right there. 1, 2, 3. So now we're on overtime here. We had such a great ferment. We want to be very careful. Very careful. Down to 2 windows. We're beyond the 3 gallons now, and well, we've got some interesting developments. We're now over 200 degrees on the scale, and well, we're going crazy up here. We're not pulling good quality stuff off right now, and therefore, yeah, that kind of tastes a bit harsh. So this is going to be our first jar of repitch for the next time. So I'm going to go ahead and strip off the balance. You can see our alcohol is going down on the proofometer. We're at 170 proof or 85% pure. So our purity is going down. This is still good stuff that'll be cleaned up the next time. But we're just going to concentrate on stripping it off now. We're not going to be too fancy. We're going to cut our water down quite a bit. So we have the secondary condensing over on this side here. And we're going to strip this off. And we're going to call it a day. Knock that off and grab all of that stuff, and this will be the repitch. This is going to come off pretty fast now. We don't have to be fancy. We don't really have to go low and slow. We're just cleaning out these final 2 windows, taking off this final bit of alcohol and finishing the job, and everything went exactly according to program, and that's the way we want to off-take it. And we'll mark that for repitch in case sometime in the future, could be a long time, probably will be if we ever decide to do this again. So this is like a blue moon here. We're just taking that off really quickly now. You can see we're down to 80 now. We're just stripping all of that alcohol. We'll take this down to about 40 or 50. That's all we got to do. It's going to start smelling too, so with that, those smelly tails, what we're taking off now, we can actually pitch that in again, and it'll clean them up. It'll also help boost our yield for next time. The smell in here is just awful. There's nothing on the face of the earth that, well, you can describe, or any words you can use to describe tails when they're being taken off. It's like the worst gym socks, the worst poo you ever smelled, the worst anything, all rolled into one. The skunk that you ran over, so a lot of people have no problem learning really quick what the tails are, and you never want to get those tails mixed in with the good ethanol that you've taken off, for sure. So we're about taking off our second jar now of tails. We've already taken off one, so we'll pull about a half gallon. Let's take a look at the proofometer. You guys have been seeing that the proof decline. We're at about 40, which is just about signifies the end of the run here. All we're doing now is steaming and rising here on the temperature. So a couple minutes, we're going to close it down and describe the end of the process. I'm lucky I didn't have to change out from well water, although this is really warm now, our water coming in from the well, because we've been recirculating it all this morning since 7 a.m. and it's about 2:30 now, so we're talking about a 7.5 hours of run time here. So okay, and we've just about stripped every feasible bit of alcohol we can. Well, we're still running about 80, which is about 40%, but that's going to be about it. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down now. Turn our power down, turn it off, and that'll immediately cut our offtake there. We ran that down to about 40%. As I described earlier in the process, what makes bourbon is really it's aged in charcoaled American oak barrels, new ones that have been charcoal fired on the inside. And after this is put into a barrel for about those 6 months or so, this is the color that you get, a beautiful amber color, and the taste is just amazing. And it's good old American bourbon, albeit about 190 proof, or well, not something that you want to, about 90% pure in there, and it's something you definitely want to either sip it over the rocks or go real slowly, or cut that with some distilled water. So okay, I'm gonna go ahead. We're running a little bit over here. I'm gonna get one more catch jar to stick under here. Kind of over topping with steam a little bit now, so take that off there. Put that in there. And that should be about it. Gonna pull the power. And there we go on a really, really great run today. I really want to thank you guys for being along on this. Well, it was a 2-week process that culminated with a very simple distillation run today, and well, 3 gallons of really, really great moonshine, and well, a little demonstration jar to see, just to show you guys what you get at the end when you finish producing the product. It's been a lot of fun. It's not something I really want to do again, to tell you the truth. I mean, when you consider the quality of what's out there in the marketplace, yes, it's fun. It's a blast to do it. And yeah, it's a good cocktail party thing to talk about. And it's great in a shit hits the fan thing too, because, well, you might get aboard a prepper group that maybe likes the fact that you can make alcohol and drinking alcohol too. You'll be welcome anywhere, anytime, any place. Thanks so much for being along. Thumbs up are most appreciated. And if you like what you saw, hit that share button. And well, was a moonshiner, and now you're a moonshiner too. Thanks so much, everyone.